Hi, everyone, and welcome to Who Threw the Curve. And today we have our Randy, our guest from Delaware and Philly fan. Actually, we won't call Randy a guest anymore. He's our co-host or host as well, because here we're all the same. There's nobody above anybody, so we're both just hosts. No, actually, we're going to call Mr. Ducky, right?
Mr. Ducky.
Mr. Ducky is the moderator today.
You want to moderate, Mr. Ducky?
We got some good we got a good topic we're going to talk about. And why is it good? Because I've been through a couple of divorces before, so
say it ain't so.
So I know well about why marriage doesn't make sense anymore. A societal perspective, and it's an article. I took this from an article. I forgot what magazine I took it from, but there's a lawyer, John Sexton, and I hope I'm saying his name right. He's a divorce lawyer, and
another topic.
And he says that marriage fits the legal definition of negligence.
Oh my
agree.
God.
I agree. I don't know why people, when you look at it, when in the article when they broke it down, I mean, if you look at it before you get married, you probably wouldn't get married. You would change your mind, like right in the middle, right before, like 3 days before. 3 days before your wedding, and you read this, you'd be like, "Yeah, I don't think I want to do this," because John, in his research, he came up with 76% of marriages do not work out. Period. And he's a divorce lawyer.
Now, when was this done? When did he do that study?
Where did he do that study?
How long ago was that? Did it say?
No, it wasn't clear. I think it was recently, because he also has a thing on this literally came out on his either TikTok or YouTube, because he also has a
because it was 76% is disgustingly high, but I was saying if this was done like 10 years ago, it's probably 90% now. I don't know hardly anybody that stays together. I mean, it's too easy, and that's been part of our topics. I'm not trying to interrupt you. I'm so sorry, Robert.
So he says 76% of marriages don't work, but 56% of the marriages end up in divorces. So I get that, because you're going to see that a lot here in New York City. People, their marriages do not work out, but they can't afford to get divorced either or. So they end up cohabiting an apartment together. And though they're theoretically separated, they don't get divorced because they can't afford to get divorced. So they just live together and they make it happen.
Mr. Ducky, is Daddy not doing that?
So, I mean, think about it. Why would anybody want to get married anymore? And I, again, before I know you got a lot of things to say. Before we go in, I'm assuming that the higher percentages of these divorces and marriages not working out are probably more likely to exist in big cities, because I'm sure, like in North Carolina, South Carolina, and in down south, marriages still last longer, whether they happily married or not, but they still last longer because they're more traditional and they make things last, and they just, they were brought up a different way than us.
They don't have as much access to shit that's going to cause a problem as you do in New York City.
Right. No, you're right.
That's all there is. They're up in the hills. They got roosters, hens, and deer. You got strip clubs. You got all the drugs you want. You can go in a booth and watch XXX movies.
So no, you're absolutely right. And that was one of my big things. If people got married outside, relationships last longer outside of any big city, because, like you said, they have less access to things than we do.
Naughty stuff.
Right. Like, let's say, for instance, I'm living in New York City, and my wife pisses me off. At 1 o'clock in the morning, I could just go out and go hang out in whatever bar, because they're all open. And I live in the Lower East Side, so everything's open. Like, this is on the Lower East Side. If you've ever been here, this is Party City, and everybody's young.
Yeah.
Like get all these yuppies down there on Delancey and all that, and all the clubs are open and all the little bars. Well, they don't call them clubs anymore. Now they're lounges, but
Lounges.
yeah, they're all open. Where let's say if we went upstate more, let's say in Buffalo, or when I was living in Buffalo, I lived in Orchard Park. So I lived literally across the street.
Nice area.
It is. No, it's a beautiful area. Actually, the funny shit is, people used to think I was rich, but in reality, no, I wasn't rich because my company was paying for the apartment and everything. But it was no access to nothing because it was Orchard Park. Orchard Park, once the football stadium, there was no football, there was nothing really going on.
Yeah.
You know, and I think there was a couple of bars across the street, but they closed at 1, 2 o'clock. So I couldn't be like, oh man, I'm pissed off at 3 o'clock in the morning and go out. And then if you went out, all you saw was deer and shit like that in the street. Like in New York, you go out, everything's open. Every single corner bodega, everything. So
there's plenty of bloomer dust floating around.
Yeah. So we have a lot of access, like you said, to different things. So let me ask you, Andy, why do you think people still get married?
I think it gives you a false sense of security. I think B, because it's assumed it's the thing you're supposed to do by most people. You grow up, you're born, you grow up as a kid, you do your thing, you become an adult, you get married, pop a couple of youngins, retire from work, become a grandparent, get buried in a 6-foot grave. So it's assumed, and nowadays it's so easy. There's no effort, and it relates to one of our the topics we talked about already. With millennials, it's just they think that there's not as much value in it, and it's no longer a partnership. If you got your shit, I got my shit. We'll combine. We'll have a joint account. We'll combine some things, but at the end of the day, it's got to be 50-50. Well, it has nothing to do with who's male or who's female with the 50-50 shit. If one partner is making $250,000 a year and the other one's making 60, the one making 60 shouldn't have to pay half the bills. And the one making 60 should be allowed to put a little bit of money in a savings account just like the other one does. But that's how a lot of marriages aren't. They break up over marriages break up over stuff that would be an argument back in the day when we were growing up between our parents. Now it's, and I've never even cheated. I've been told I'm too good of a husband. Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy nowadays. And I've also been told that the little things don't matter.
Right.
Like coming home from work and say it's the guy's day off and he comes home from work or he's off all day. Wife comes home from work and he's made a nice meal, house clean, all that. That doesn't matter to people a lot nowadays. To me, shit, that'd get my step pop laid any day of the week. come on with all that,
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and just to chime in on what you said about what you was trying to say or saying about millennials and Gen Z. If anybody has listened to any of the past podcasts that I had with Free and Kat, millennials and Gen Z are very individual generation, so they like to be by themselves, especially Gen Z. They like to do everything by themselves. They don't want to be told what to do, and they don't even want to hear an opinion. The only thing that matters is their opinion. So,
yes,
to get married and be a narcissist and be an individual like that is not going to work out ever.
No.
And it's not like in back in the days, let's say my mom's time, even in my time in the beginning, I'm talking about the beginning, like I was born with Adam and Eve. In the beginning, there was like, so but back in the days, in my time, You married somebody that you already knew practically all your life, because most of the time you married a friend that you've been having, a childhood friend that you grew up with. So you knew each other very well and you grew up together and it kind of lasted. Now, if you ever look at people that get married, they get married like
met on the computer.
yeah, 3 months after they met, they want to get married. You don't even know this guy snores or just chick snores.
Because they read his page, Rob.
Yeah.
Really, they read his page, and it's everything that they would like. Boom, boom, boom. He's perfect for me. I didn't have to find this all out. It's all written right here in his profile. So that's got to be how he is. He ain't lying. So that's why wait. Let's go ahead and get married and get our false sense of security. Till he comes, I can depend on him or her. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So when you don't know each other or you don't know anything about what you guys saw, because remember, I always tell people, relationships in the beginning is like selling a car. Because I'm going to tell you everything that's good about this car, not what's bad. There's bad things with this car, but I'm not going to tell you that because I want you to buy the fucking car. So if I'm on a date, what am I doing? I'm selling myself. I'm and not only am I selling myself, but you're also selling yourself to me. And we're just selling. And then once we get through that process, 3 months later, we get married? No, because you have not even touched the base or even the top, the cream of my negative side.
But he memorized your profile page.
Yeah. Well, the
really,
profile.
that's all it is. They memorize your profile page, and really, it's so hard. Keep going. I'm
no. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say about this opinion.
Oh, so
keep going.
So yeah, you're right. And a lot of people think that, oh, I went on his Instagram page. He looks like a nice guy or a nice girl. Oh, I went on this Facebook page and it looked like a nice family or whatever. But who puts negative shit on their profile? Now, depending where you're from, because if you're from the hood, and that's what you do and you don't really care about what anybody thinks about you, you're going to put what you do, then that's fine. I kind of salute you. I don't salute what you do, but I kind of salute that you're doing, like you're showing me what you really are. So,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But most of the time, everything on these pages are lies.
Mm-hmm. They are, Rob. And yeah, that's how I met my wife. And we turned out, and I always say that, I'm like, I'm everything I told you I was. I said, am I not? And she can never say no. She can never say no.
Right.
I even down to, I tend to be, what she says, I tell the truth too much. And that's the way, I mean, young people today, are not young people, and it's starting to roll off into my age group, 40s to 50s. This thing of, you have your perception and I have my perception. Instead of, you have a bird, this is Mr. Ducky, and this is a cup of iced caramel coffee from Wawa. Now, your perception may be that this is Mr. Ducky, and that is this 32-ounce iced coffee from Wawa. But at the end of the day, that's Mr. Ducky, and this is the coffee.
Right.
So everybody has their perception of how they perceive, not everybody, but the millennials and Gen, whatever you call them. I get mixed up with them. And it's starting to bleed. Yeah, it's starting to bleed into my age group, because I see it sometimes in my wife, and I'm like, babe, you just think about what you're saying. There's the truth. There's your actions and there's your words. That's the truth. You know what I'm saying? There is no perception. It's black and white. Your thoughts?
I also think, especially amongst young people, like in the millennials and the Gen Z, a lot of times they're okay with just cohabitation with their partner, but their parents aren't. So a lot of times they also get into marriage because their parents keep pushing and pushing. Oh, well, you're not going to marry. You're living them. You're living with that dude for how many years? You didn't marry, but they're okay with it. But because their parents keep pushing it, now they have to like get into a marriage that they really didn't want. And at the end of the day, it's weird, but when people get married, like all of a sudden you could be with somebody for 13 years, living fine the way you are, not married. You know, if you live in a state like New York, then you become a what is that? Common law. So it doesn't matter if I leave, you get half anyway. But all of a sudden you get married, and boom, now things just change. It's like the whole certificate of marriage just gives you like some type of entitlement of being called a wife, where before I could have called you a wife without being married.
Yeah. You could legally change your name, and we could have told you we're married. It's something about, to me, it doesn't. I mean, I like for my wife to have my last name. I think that's important. And these ones that leave their name the same, I mean, if it's for like a professional reason, a law or whatever, you should at least hyphenate it. But if you're married to a guy, that's part of, according to the Bible, that's part of becoming one. You become one, and nobody, people don't. I mean, really think about it, man. You get married and you're Catholic, and I'm saying, we're saying we believe in God, we believe in Jesus. Now, yeah. And we get married, but those vows, I mean, nobody takes them. Then nobody even reads them and says, okay, what? Then there's no research done on those. They just say them. That's how little they mean to people.
Right.
It's just, it's frustrating, man.
I personally, I don't think any of my wives ever took my. Well, I mean, obviously they could have, but they never changed their name officially on their documents to my last name. But you know what? At the end of the day, I didn't really. That doesn't really matter to me, because a name's a name. Like,
true.
You know, you
but
know how
I
many
mean,
names?
if you're really in love with your wife, man, this is my wife. This is Mrs. Day. It just makes it just, and it also shows me from her that, you know what, I'm carrying my man's last name. I mean, I disagree with you on that one, bro. Respectfully,
I think probably if all my kids have my last name, so I think that would be more important to me.
That as well.
Than my wife having my last name. My wife did not want to change their last name, and I get it, because it's a pain in the ass to get documents, and I think that's a big factor too. A lot of times, and then so here we go. Look at this scenario. I get married. I change my name. Now I'm getting divorced. Now I gotta change my name again.
Actually, no, it's not like that. When you put your divorce papers out, you just say, I want to take my name back. And that's all you got to do. And they change it. Boom, you go get your new ID. That's all you got to do. I just went through it.
Well, I don't. Here in New York City, and the reason why I say that, because what I do is I deal with a lot of people getting their documents together to get access to the airport. So a lot of times they have documents that were in their previous marriage. So if they have one document that doesn't have their last name, or if two documents do not match, then you got to get the documents that you need so they can match. And I always hear the hardest thing was, or is, to get or go about changing this. It just takes time, and it's a headache, because unfortunately we live in a time where we have to work. So a lot of times that's what we're doing. We're working, we're doing other shit. When we're not working, we're running around, running chores. Now we have to run around on a weekday that we're supposed to be working. I got to take time off to go change this document, because remember, most of these places aren't open Saturday and Sunday. And you think they would be, especially in New York City, right? Because everything else is open 24 hours, 7 days a week. Why can't the government be open 24 hours, 7 days a week?
Well, there's also nothing that says you have to change your name back anyway. I mean, and it's something, if you take a day off or you take a half a day from work, and if it means that much to you, half a day of work and go get it done, and it's done.
You're right. You don't have to change your name, but now comes, I'm not with this person. I'm theoretically divorced or separated, but now I'm in love with somebody else. You see?
Okay, you use the same excuse. I didn't have time to change it.
But now,
who has time?
But now I want to get married, or marriage comes in again for the third, fourth, fifth time. You see?
So you can't. I see. You can't be married to somebody else carrying your ex-husband's last name.
Well, because theoretically, if you have somebody else's name, you still got to change it, because now you got to get But now you gotta provide when you go and change and pick up this other person's name. Now you gotta provide divorce papers from the other. It's like a whole thing. You gotta and now I don't know what my divorce papers are. So it's like it's a big headache.
It all boils down to the individual and how much of a headache that individual makes. Because me personally, if it was me, I go downstairs, grab a folder, whoop, it's got all that stuff in it, and go right down to the courthouse.
Yeah.
And I'm done.
Well, especially for young people, they're not as organized as
Nope.
us Gen X's and Boomers. Um, they have shit all over the place. Oh, it's in my mom. My mom has it. She lives in Montana, and
It's
so
in my cloud.
Wait, in Montana where they don't have electricity. She don't even have internet. So
And they have 5 clouds on their phone, Rui. So that which cloud's it in on their phone? I put it in a cloud. It must have got erased. What do you win? A brand new marriage.
so it becomes kind of a headache. So John Sexton, he has a point when you look at all these things, and we talked a lot about things, but we didn't talk about the economic factors, just the way norms change in society, and even you as a person, we all change on a yearly basis. I'm not the same person I was last year. I'm not the same person I was 6 months ago.
I think about that routinely. Not trying to get off topic, but I always think about this. Man, I am so much different than I was 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I look at that so much. Like it's weird. I think that I don't know. That's why I think I'm so special because I'm that guy within 10 minutes of a movie. I know who the killer is, and
Yeah.
I can weed through because I've been in sales so long. I can always tell when I'm being fed a line of shit. I mean, I it's so quick.
Yeah.
And I think about it routinely about, man, if I'm setting something up or I'm trying to do something, I'm one of those people that likes to see results and see them quickly, like most people are.
Right.
And I finally learned to have patience and know that things take time. But I still find myself thinking, man, I was different 2 months ago. Like just my whole way of thinking and all that, it just changes. It changes so quickly, man. And you have to be able to adapt in this world. And if your way of thinking can't change, and if you can't see other people's perspectives on how they view things, not your perception of what something is, but how their view on a topic, if you can't see that from multiple angles, then that wouldn't be a cool life for me.
It is not going
Your
to work.
thoughts?
Yeah, I think, for instance, I think my spouse, my wife, they don't have to agree with me at all. However, they have to respect my opinion.
Exactly.
Just like I'll respect their opinion.
But let me ask you this: if you know what your wife is telling you is just so far out in left field that, I mean, if you line up 10 people, 9 of those 10 people, maybe all 10 would be like, "What the hell?" Is it your job to sit there and say yes to yes to? You're just like, wait a minute, time out. I respect what you say, but this is just not right. And not, and it, do you have the right to say that, or should you still just be like, yes, dear, I understand your opinion?
You absolutely have the right to say that. Only because you don't want to get yourself. And I've done that in my younger life. Is I catered to my wives, even though I did a lot of bad things, like as far as the relationship wise is, like going out and hanging out and not coming home. But
Jason Bloomer dust, personal foul, roughing the passer.
But I catered to them, and whatever they said was yes. I kind of probably did it because I felt guilty on what I used to do. But a lot of times I agreed to things that I didn't believe in at all.
Yeah, you co-sign bullshit.
Yeah.
See, that's one thing I want now. If we're out in public, I won't embarrass her. If it's so much bullshit and we're having a group discussion, I won't be like, oh yeah, I was there, I seen it. If it's something stupid, I'm like, come on, babe, you're sure cutting down a little bit. But I always have my wife's back. But I don't. I'm one of those people who do 99% of the time I do not co-sign bullshit. If somebody's sitting there bullshitting, I'll tell. And you people kind of look at you like you're an asshole for doing that. But I don't want to. I'm just not. If it's a cup of coffee, it's a cup of coffee. It's a goddamn bird, it's a goddamn bird.
No, I totally agree. But
sorry, man.
No. But with that said, I mean, I just think young people think about what you can do. Not only young, but also older. Think about, before getting married, because a lot of headaches come after if it doesn't work out. And remember, John Sexton says 76% of marriages do not work out unless you get yourself like a country girl in the mountains.
I resemble that remark. and I did find this out in my research on this topic. 8 in 10 marriages start out with a prenup now. 8 out of 10.
Yeah, the
Hear
prenups
my
is all
wife
good, but
from the back, as they should.
at the end of the day, a prenup is good. But what happens if you accumulate more now? So prenup is only good until
Well,
that
she gets
point.
half of whatever we accumulate together. That's fair. But what I had before, you know what I mean?
Right.
Go fuck yourself.
But a lot of times you can accumulate more. So sometimes a prenup doesn't even make sense. And, I mean,
Can you get a
obviously,
prenup? No.
I mean, obviously, if you got billions and billions of dollars before you enter a marriage, then it would make sense. But if you only got a couple of things and later on you end up accumulating more, it's just creating a headache on, well, how are we going to separate this?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if when you get divorced, if you take from somebody something that they paid 90% of it, and then you've done some real shisty shit, cheating, stealing money, doing drugs, all that shit, and then you turn around and you take way more money, over half in a divorce just to be an asshole and run up attorney bills, then that shit should not be allowed, man. And that's why the negligence part comes in. The courts, if you cheat on your old man or your old lady and you steal from them and you physically abuse them and then you go into court and they don't give a shit about that. All they care about is how much you own and how we splitting it up. There should be consequences. And that's the whole thing of why marriage doesn't matter anymore, because the courts allow people to be fucking scumbags, dude.
Right.
And then the judge gets butthurt when a man's, if I'm supposed to say a man, is sitting there like, she was fucking my best friend for 3 years. I don't give a shit. How much is this house worth? I just want to jump over and smash that dude's fucking head, dude.
Well, don't forget the micro cheating.
You know how many times she was looking at the dude in a Jeep next to us at stoplight? Chris, can you hand me a tissue, please?
Well, with that said, my suggestion is before you get hitched, think about it 10 times. Anything on your side?
My thought is stay single, don't get married. Unless you got that feeling deep down. I mean, let you know. I've had it one time that I mean that deep down love for somebody. I've had it once, and if it's something like that. But if you're doing it if you're marrying somebody because of what they are and how much income they have and shit like that, be a real person, be an adult. Don't think about yourself for once and think about doing the right thing, whether it benefits you or it hurts you. And you won't make that marriage. Chances are you won't make that mistake of marrying the wrong person.
Well said. With that said, thanks everyone. Don't forget to share, subscribe, like, and remember, join in discussions. And we'll see you on our next session. Thanks.
Peace out.
All right.
Damn, that was a long one.
That one lasted long.